The aim of criminal justice in the United States is to prevent and control crime. The chapter begins by exploring the social and legal definitions of crime. Socially, crime is often defined as behavior that goes against societal norms or values, essentially antisocial behavior. Legally, crime is seen as an intentional violation of criminal law or penal code, lacking justification or excuse, and subject to state penalties. Your text outlines 7 elements of a crime, although other sources may present them differently. Professor Rees emphasizes mens rea, mental state, and actus reus, criminal act, as primary elements, but all 7 are briefly covered here. These elements include harm, legality, actus reus, mens rea, causation, concurrence, and punishment. For an act to constitute a crime, it must result in external harm. Legality requires that the harmful behavior is expressly prohibited by law and cannot be retroactively applied. Actus reus, from Latin, refers to the criminal act itself, intentional action or negligent, reckless, behavior causing harm. Mens rea refers to the mental state behind the act, including negligence, where one fails to take reasonable precautions to prevent harm. The following defenses are covered in your text. They are duress, age, insanity, entrapment, and necessity. These defenses negate the element of mens rea. Duress applies to situations where a person is forced or coerced into committing a crime against their will. In such cases, the individual acted under duress and is generally exempt from criminal liability. Juvenile delinquency refers to offenses committed by young individuals, typically between the ages of 7 and 18. This category exists to address crimes committed by minors separately from those committed by adults. A status offense is an act that is illegal for a juvenile but would not be a crime if committed by an adult. Examples include truancy and curfew violations. Insanity, as a legal defense, involves a mental or psychological impairment that prevents a person from understanding their actions or distinguishing right from wrong. The oldest standard for determining legal insanity is the Mitten Rule, but other tests include the irresistible impulse test, the substantial capacity test, and the product test. Entrapment serves as a defense when a person, who was not predisposed to commit a crime, is induced to do so by law enforcement or their agent. This defense protects individuals from being unfairly manipulated into criminal activity. The necessity defense applies when a crime is committed to prevent a greater or more serious harm. In such cases, the illegal act is justified as the lesser of two evils. There must be a direct causal link between the prohibited harm and the actus reus for a crime to be established promptly. Ideally, criminal conduct and intent, mens rea, must coincide, known as concurrence. The 7th element, punishment, is essential for behavior to be classified as criminal. Laws must provide for punishment or at least the threat thereof to enforce compliance. The chapter also addresses the seriousness of crimes. Felonies are grave offenses punishable by death, fines, or imprisonment exceeding 1 year. Misdemeanors are less severe offenses that do not classify as felonies. Crimes are further categorized as mala in se, intrinsically wrong, or mala prohibita, prohibited by law. Mala in se offenses are inherently wrong, while mala prohibita offenses are illegal because laws define them as such. For example, possession of marijuana may not be inherently wrong, mala in se, but is prohibited, mala prohibita, in many jurisdictions. In the next section we will cover the measurement of crime. Once again, if you are not reading your text, you are missing out on valuable information. Please follow Professor Rees's advice: read your book.